Hello and welcome to From the Vault, episode 13. I'm your host Dan Wren, and with me as always is my co-host Nathaniel. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Vintage Cube is up, so I have been playing a lot of Vintage Cube, and anyone who hasn't played Vintage Cube will not know how much fun Vintage Cube is. So, you know, it's the brightest magic time of year.
I feel like we're testing for the RPG, and like every other day I just get a screenshot of just being like, hey, this is my Vintage Cube deck, and I'm like, this is cool, but like, what?
So I'm definitely involved in testing for the RPG Cube, but it's very hard not to cube when it's around. It's only around for a short amount of time. You only have these opportunities very sparingly, Dan.
No, I feel that. We were in the shop anyway last night, so yeah, we're definitely putting the time in. But yeah, I get what you mean. Vintage Cube's hella fun. I don't play it anywhere near as much as you do when it comes around, but it's pretty good. So this is a special episode this week, actually, because we've got our first guest.
I guess it's not technically our first guest, but it's our first guest that isn't the producer.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. I don't know if that counts. But anyway.
Yeah.
We have top 16 PT competitor, Dani Anderson, on the line. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me. You said all these really nice things about me in episode 11, so I thought I'd better come along and live up to the hype. So
yeah, I mean, we were all very excited because that was like right after the PT. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, so it would have been right after the PT.
Yeah. That was right after the PT. I think we were still kind of on the high from Gaz's GP win.
Yeah.
And then we also got to see like a Scottish flag show up in the like when they were doing the things towards the later stages of the PT, and they have that thing that comes up, and it's like, oh, here are the competitors who are doing well, and there's a bunch of like American flags and some Japanese flags and some European flags that aren't British, and then we have like one Scottish flag, and everyone's just like, yes.
That was a good time. It was a really good time. Good couple of weeks for Scottish Magic. So this PT was in, remind me exactly. I knew it's in the States. I just can't remember exactly.
Right?
Richmond, Virginia.
There you go. So how's Richmond, Virginia, like as a place?
It is a very sunny, but somewhat. I'm not really sure why they picked it. To be honest, it's the venue itself was perfectly pleasant. It was like every other sort of convention hall that you have ever seen in the world.
And played countless matches of Magic the Gathering in.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Civil War history or Edgar Allan Poe, I can very strongly recommend it. But other than that, I'm not really sure what the big draw was.
I mean, I guess.
I think our best estimate was that eventually they want to say that they've done a Pro Tour in all 50 states.
Right, okay.
So we think this was just the check off on that list because, you know, while it was perfectly pleasant, I won't be going holidaying there.
Not particularly exciting. Right, okay. But the tournament was pretty good. Wait, actually oh no, I was just thinking, like, isn't SCG in Richmond, but it's in Roanoke. So, yeah. No, I don't know.
Yeah, that was what confused me. I think at STG-Con or something everyone was talking about Roanoke, Virginia for a few weeks beforehand. So I was like, oh yeah, is this Pro Tour in Roanoke? No? I'm sure it's in Virginia or somewhere like that. I'm definitely an expert in American geography, so I definitely, it makes a difference to me to know which state it's in. No, the 50 states thing sounds like a really, like, real solid argument, actually. That definitely sounds like something Wizards will, like, put up an article about.
Yeah, but, like, what if they need to do one in, like, North Dakota or something? Like, no offense to North Dakota, but my understanding is that there's not a whole lot going on up there, but...
It's okay, they'll just have a bunch of Magic players there, so they won't need to, like, go out and do things, Dan. They have the ability to just play Magic, so it'll be okay.
Be Alaska. Pro Tour Alaska.
Pro Tour Alaska would be badass, though.
That would be sick. I would definitely want to go to Pro Tour Alaska. Like, more than other Pro Tours.
In Anchorage?
Yeah.
That place, I don't know what happens there. There's a Fallout DLC there. That's what I remember. Anyway, back on track. PT.
So, like, this is your second PT, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. That was the, well, I think you touched on it in episode 11. That was actually the PTQ from GP Liverpool. which would have been in October of last year.
Yeah, it was tail end. October, November, I can't remember. Yeah.
And again, kind of like you said, there was a bit of confusion. That GP was pretty horrendous for me. I knew that I had the deferred entry to Pro Tour Rivals, so I wasn't eligible to play any events that fed Rivals. But this PTQ was advertised as being for Dominaria. I went up, I spoke to the judge taking sign-ups. I said, is this PTQ for Dominaria? Yes. Definitely?
Excellent.
Yes. Okay. Sat down, won the first round. Match lip says PTQ Dominaria. I think, oh, okay. Fantastic. Play through the whole thing. We start of the year, we're starting all the travel and all the preparation for Pro Tour Rivals, which was in Bilbao, Spain, which is much, much, much closer to here than Virginia. And I get sent the usual sort of Wizards travel booking forms, which is incredibly confusing because you don't get that from the RPT qualification. You get entry to the Magic Online Challenge series, which is also the mocks, but not the mocks that everyone thinks of.
I'm deeply confused.
Yeah. So that's that mocks in particular is a Sunday tournament that you have to register for on the Sunday of the PT, and that's where you get your prizes and stuff from that. That's a tournament with if you turn up and you win 0 rounds, you're given $1,500 and 18 Modo packs. And if you win all 4 of your rounds, you get $1,500 and 72 Modo packs.
Okay. The important part is the $1,500 when it comes to actually getting to where you want to go and stuff, right?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. That's a lot of ticks.
Sorry, carry on, Danny.
So, yeah, so there was a bit of confusion over what qualification slot I was supposed to be using, but eventually we figured out that Wizards were going to stump up my flights to Richmond, Virginia.
Excellent, because that's far, as you said.
Yeah. Much better to get flights to Richmond than flights to Bilbao, I think.
Yeah, Bilbao was a much worse tournament for me, but a much better city as far as I was concerned.
I mean, if you're gonna have like a good tournament and a bad tournament, and a good city and a bad city, I definitely want them to line up such that I have my bad tournament in the good city, I think.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what you did. It was all planned, right?
Yeah, just as planned.
Obviously.
Yeah, so Pro Tour number 2, coming in hot off a staggering 0-5 at Pro Tour Rivals. So, again, I think I don't want to repeat too much of what you said in like episode 11.
No, it's okay. It sounds really good just coming from you, I guess. I mean, obviously we told the tale, but it's still really cool to kind of get your perspective and everything.
We want to hear it. We want to hear from you, which is why we're talking to you.
Well, I think anyone that follows me on Twitter at Danderson92, you will probably see from like round about the start of April up until probably about the day of the Pro Tour is just almost nothing but Modo screenshots and salt. And some photos from GP Birmingham. Featuring such classics as why on earth did they print on Sarah's wings in a set with Coldwater Snapjaw?
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
What is this even doing?
To be fair, I feel like that's a sentiment echoed by, like, at this point, I guess, like, semi-infamous / famous, like, Modo draft grinder Dustin Stern, who, like, most of his Twitter pics are pictures of him, like, with a Coldwater Snapper and the Unsorcerer's Wings on it being like, man, this is dumb. Why is this in the set?
Or what's the 1-mana blue enchantment? The one with the cat with the wings?
Arcane Flight.
Arcane Flight, yeah. It's all dumb. It's all really dumb.
Yeah, so I can surmise from that your limited preparation was going really well, and you were really enjoying it.
I had a great time.
So I'm not particularly great at limited. I never have been. It's never really been my
forte.
My area of expertise. Yeah, my forte. I think so. Going into Rivals, I probably did somewhere in the region of like 10 to 15 drafts, and had above expectation in terms of results. I think I had, maybe 5 or 6 trophies at some point. Going into the Pro Tour, so I was feeling really good about
confident
how I was drafting. Yeah, and I thought my deck on the day at Rivals was really good, or it was not a 10, but you're just kind of looking for 7s, 8s on your like rating.
Yeah, when you're drafting against some of these people who are like really excellent drafters, and from my memory, your pod was like insanely stacked.
Yeah, you sent us a screenshot of the slip, and those are always great. So take us through that, actually. Like, who was in there?
Okay, so I've actually got it here. So I'll just go through and you tell me if you have heard of any of these people. So Dani Anderson, nobody knows who that guy is. Shota Yasuoka?
Nah, never heard of him, mate.
Did he win a PT, ever? I think he may have.
Maybe. I mean, he's got too many letters in his name. I mean, so does this other guy, like Damo da Rosa Paulo Vitor. Like, I mean,
who's this guy?
It's just like 20 vowels. I mean, Steve Hatto,
Luxembourg fella.
Yep. The name that might not be too familiar is Thoralf. Oh God, how do you pronounce that? Sorry. I
is
just
it
call him
Sever or something?
Yeah, it's Toffel.
Yeah. He's good. He's real good.
Sure, yeah.
Toffel is a good friend of mine. I was introduced to him at a GP by our good friend Riley Knight, and so he was sitting on my immediate left with Pablo Doritos on my right, which is a pretty intimidating place to be sitting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
On Toffel's left, we had Ari Lax.
Who's that guy?
He tweets a lot, I think, angrily.
He doesn't have enough letters in his name.
No, very little.
So, and the last two guys were Ellie Loveman and Ben Ragan.
Okay.
I think those guys, from what I've learned, actually seem to do quite well on like the SCG tours.
All right, cool.
And I think apart from me, everybody there was either Hall of Fame, Gold Pro, top 8 at the GP.
Jeez. So yeah, Rogue's Alley. Nice. So feeling confident, feeling good going into the first draft.
Oh, I mean, my limited prep really just kind of could best be described as combining my head with a brick wall repeatedly and waiting to see until something changed. I must have done about 25 drafts and probably won about 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
To somewhat paraphrase Andrea Mengucci's recent article, I wasn't winning a lot, but I was learning what I liked and what was working and what wasn't. And that was quite important for just developing like a good pick order.
Mm-hmm. And it's also just like sorry to interrupt, but I mean, that's just like a fantastic mindset to approach whenever you're testing. I mean, I don't know, that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but people attribute like way too much to their like percentages when all it is drawing the conclusions that you've just outlined. Yeah,
well, I'm not going to lie, there was definitely a few slam shot laptops. But, yeah, the one thing that I did a lot that I learned from Rivals was really to make use of the draft replayer.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you guys have spoken about before, but I can't remember the URL off the top of my head, but if you are a regular Magic Online player, which I imagine most of your listeners are, make sure that your draft logs are enabled in your Magic Online settings.
Yeah.
This will generate a text file. You can then upload that to the draft replayer and it will give you a graphical representation of all of your picks, what was left in the pack, that you can then share with, other people, get their comments, get their feedback. So
no, that's really good. We should, because we've all got that enabled and stuff. I don't think I make enough use of uploading it, but we can put a little thing in the show notes about maybe getting that enabled or something so that folks know. But yeah, no, sorry, carry on.
So yeah, I definitely made much more of much higher use of that, I should say. Rather than just the drafts that I felt didn't go well, but just all of the drafts. So, pack 1, pick 1 was easy. Well, that's fine, but your pack 1, pick 4 was, horrendous. Go back. Why was that?
I feel, people focus a lot on pack 1, pick 1s. And like you say, even when you're looking at stuff like, oh, well, this draft went well. Okay. But, did it go well because you made the right decisions? Or did it go well because, you opened, a sick green bomb and then moved into green, and then green happened to be open? And, hooray! But we haven't learned anything, I guess.
Was that an intentional segue? Because if so, props.
I actually had totally forgotten that you had a sick green bomb in your in your proto deck.
So what would you say is the sickest greenest bomb in all of Dominaria?
Probably Multani, I believe. The XX, where X is the number of lands you control and in your graveyard that your opponents can't kill, and that has trample and reach.
Yep.
I never remember Multani's title. Is it Yavamaya's Avatar or something?
It is Yavamaya's Avatar.
Oh, I'm such a nerd. This is great. Carry on, Danny.
So when you're drafting at that level, or my mindset was, I don't want to open a good pack. I don't want to open a pack with a decision. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I want to just kind of guarantee not to make a mistake in literally the first decision that I have to have.
I get that. You want this kind of thing to not necessarily be on rails, but you want it to be. Yeah, you don't want to make that many decisions. I kind of get that.
You want to start off knowing that you're definitely right. You open up Multani and you're like, yes, I will pick this.
Yeah.
And I will know I'm right.
So a lot of the time, I flew out on the Thursday. You need to be on site for the Pro Tour on the Thursday. And I ended up staying in the same hotel as Bradley Barkley.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Another good Scottish Magic player.
Mm-hmm.
How I ended up staying in the same hotel as him, I'll maybe come back to a bit later on.
Right.
That's an interesting segue. But anyway, we spent most of the Thursday just sort of talking about which commons you take over which uncommons, where certain rares slot in. And, the big debates we were always having was Skittering Surveyor against Eviscerate, Shivan Fire. What if it's not settle the score rather than Eviscerate? All these little changes.
Mm-hmm.
So this was all sort of going through my head when I'm thinking right, okay, if I, do I take a Tatiova, which is a gold card? Do I take that over Shivan Fire or anything like that? So I looked through, pick up my pack at this table with, gold pros and Hall of Famers, and I flick through my pack and I have, if not the best rare in the set, but
it's very close. Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the pack is basically empty. I couldn't have asked for a better first pack, because I am getting the stone only playable out of this pack. I have never seen so many divests and Orcish Miners and
Is Orcish Saboteur? I don't know. I know exactly what card you mean.
The 1/1 that does stuff with artifacts.
Yeah.
And they had a few of those in that set in Dominaria even. I feel like I don't know why they're there, but they are.
I mean, I've never been happier to see a Skirk Prospector and a Shield of the Realm. I was like, oh, this is fantastic.
Perfect.
My pick 2, I got past a pack with the Rare Missing and Blessed Light, or Blink of an Eye were the two best cards.
Okay.
And out of those two, I took the Blessed Light just out of splashability, almost.
Mhm.
I knew I was going to cut green pretty heavily, because when you open a card as good as Multani, you want to make sure that you're playing it.
You're like, you have so much equity to any deck you play with Multani being so much better than any other deck you could draft. You want to maximize the possibility you get to play a deck with Multani in it.
Yeah. I was like a bit worried that I was passing like 2 green cards, but they were like the Llanowar Envoys and 2 3s with kicker that gain 10 life. You know, nothing,
Oh yeah, sure.
nobody's going to slam it and be cool green. Pick 2, I think pick 2, I got the Blessed Light. Pick 3, I might have taken a Baloth Gorger.
Okay.
You know, good green. And then pick 4, I got past the Mending of Dominaria, which basically told me, hey, not only are you going to get most of the green coming from your left because you're not passing any green, but you're also going to get pretty much all of the green coming from your right.
Mm-hmm.
I did post a picture of that deck. I ended up with 3 copies of Blessed Light, a copy of Seal Away, the Multani, the Grun, 3 copies of Mammoth Spider. You know, just like
this deck
solid.
sounds great. No, I definitely remember seeing it at the time when you posted it, and I was like, okay, this is great. You know, this is a really good start to the tournament. It's in a tweet, right? So we can probably find it and pop that in as well. So how did the matches go after you got cracking?
So my first round, I was against it was either Ben or Eli, and I want to say it was Ben. And he was sitting like at the furthest end of the table from me. He ended up with white-black, kind of unexciting white-black cards.
This is the deck you often end up with when you just get like a couple of good removal spells and then you just kind of draft around that, right? Or I don't know.
I think it was kind of interesting because I think somebody at that end of the table kind of messed up, or I got sort of well placed with like all the green cards that I was getting, so there was like a lot of other colours at the other end. I think I won that match 2-0. Definitely there was game 2. I was stuck with 4 uncastable spells. Like I had 4 lands, but there were like 3 planes, and like I had a bunch of like double green 5-drops.
East.
And I when I won that game, I was like, okay, my deck is excellent. I effectively mulled to 4 and still got this. So round 2, I play against Arilax, and he did not have anything that even closely resembled an answer to Multani.
Yep.
Which I played in all 3 games, one of which I milled off the Mending of Dominaria.
Oh.
I'll play this quite good green rare. Yeah. Oh, I'll using it. I'll draw this very good green mythic. Your turn.
Yeah, rare my mythic is always an excellent limited strategy.
Good job, man.
I definitely also game 1. I definitely cast like nobody plays around the 3rd Blessed Light.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we won there as well, which is obviously a massive confidence boost when you play against somebody that is infinitely like more experienced, more qualified, and you know has the backing of a real pro tour team. Like, well, we're obviously doing something okay.
Mm-hmm.
If there was like one part of my deck that I thought was maybe a bit lacking, is that it wasn't particularly great early defensive. Like you have Mammoth Spiders and stuff, but I was pretty aware that Toffle, who was on my left, was getting the hookup on like all of the blue and red cards.
Right.
So much to Riley Knight's dismay, I have to play Toffle in the pod final.
Oh no.
I'm actually completely okay with this because he's a great dude. It turns out that I'm trying to remember the exact order, but I think he first picked a Fight with Fire in pack 1. Second pack pick 1 had an Icy Manipulator, and then was passed a Fight with Fire in pack 3.
Jeez.
That's not a good card.
So he had basically the not high blue-red deck.
Mm-hmm. And he killed your mammoth spiders.
He killed the mammoth spiders, and Icy Manipulator just tapped the Multani for days. So I don't think there was much I could do in any of those games, but that's fine because we are 2-1 in a draft. We've already won more matches in 3 rounds than we did in the last 5.
Yep,
it brings my score up to 2-6. So
respectable.
So
on to Constructed.
Yeah.
So what were you playing in Constructed?
I'm trying to figure out if I should speak about my second limited or talk about.
Oh, okay. We can maybe do that. Yeah. What do you want to do?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll go into my second limited because I think the Constructed is kind of less interesting because there's so much red black. It all just melts together.
Right. Okay. And I've said that you top 16, so everyone knows that you're in day 2 at this point. So yeah, let's go.
We figured out that there was a draft too.
Yep.
So obviously, I just want to I'll just take a Multani again. That'll be great. But my pack that time was slightly closer. I think I started off with the Mending of Dominaria again.
Okay.
Which some people have just called a really expensive soul salvage, but again, I tweeted this deck after, but and I think this one was even sicker. I didn't take a photo of my pod for this one, which makes me think it was not as anywhere near stacked. I think the 2 people that jumped out immediately were Alex Magelton and Brock Parker.
Okay, yeah.
So this deck was sweet. I'm looking at the picture now. We've got 2 copies of Elfheim Druid, Slimefoot, Tatiova, Mending, Eviscerate, Cast Down, just
nice.
Blood Lurgage, just the whole shebang.
Are you straight green black or are you splashing some other stuff? Sorry,
we're splashing Tatiova.
Oh, cool, nice.
So the old double multicolor contender for best card in set. The first round of that I've got Riley on my shoulder giving play by play.
Yep.
Which I think when he comes over, he put something in the chat Danny looks super dead. I don't know how he can possibly win this. His opponent has Verdant Force and 14 million Saproings. And eventually I cast down the Verdant Force, play a Slimefoot, make 14 million Saprolings. Except that when the Saprolings trade off, I gain life.
And they lose.
He dies.
Nice.
But I feel quite bad. I can't remember what his name was, but he was almost certainly the friendliest player that I had played against that entire.
Nice.
Was just really complimentary about Scottish Magic, and I played you guys at the World Magic Cup and everything. So apologies for not making better notes, but a true gentleman. Round 2.
Is this your first round? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that was the first round of draft 2.
It's Matic Penko or Matic Penko?
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
Sorry. Cool. Carry on.
Get my statistician on it. Second draft, I'm playing against Brock Parker, who
he's pretty good. Yeah, very good at poker. Extremely good poker pro.
Yeah. I don't know if he's gold, but he was definitely a name I recognised as just being, again, much better at the game than I would be.
On MTG Elo Project, he's top 50 right now, so pretty good.
Oh, let's not talk about that site yet.
Later.
So he was 2 on my right. So if I'm in green and black, I would expect, and I was pretty sure that the chap on my right was in white red. Partially because of signals, but also this was the first draft that there was an issue with the stamping. So Wizards supply all the product, obviously, but they also do it for the GPs.
Right.
But at the Pro Tour, as soon as they said, okay, please pick up your stuff and move to your build table, half the hands in the room went up. There must have been either 1 or 2 packs every table that just didn't have
stamps,
hadn't been stamped. So that added about 15 minutes to the total sort of runtime, because the judges had to go around with a Sharpie and actually just initial all of the cards. And kind of somewhat unfortunate for my opponent on my right, he picked up his pile to move all his stuff without to the front and dropped a Serra Angel on the table that I definitely didn't pass him. So I was like, well, you're definitely white. You're definitely not green. You're definitely not black.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure you're white-red or white-blue. But so it's good to get big hints like that.
Like you're apparently dangling a Serra Angel in front of you, like, what colours could I be?
Yeah. So Brock beat me in 2. The first game was kind of close, but then he put Sarah's wings on a giant hexproof turtle.
Sweet, I love those sorts of interactions.
I mean, his deck was very good. He had definitely got the memo on how good blue was and just kind of like cut it in quite well. And then in the second game, we hit some mana issues and just kind of never really got in it. But that was fine. And then my round 3, I was playing against Mr. Drops Serra Angels.
Okay.
And
Masafumi Takasaki.
thank you. His deck was very aggressive. I managed to grind out game 1 with Slimefoot and Tatiova, like multiple life gain triggers per.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting.
And in game 2, I managed to find the pretty sick block of put my Windgrace Acolyte in front of your first strike guy, block with a bunch of other things, sack these other things after first strike damage with Whisper Blood Litigist to get back Windgrace Acolyte to gain life.
That's brilliant, Danny.
To not die, to then kill you in the air on the crackback. I don't know if you could have played around it, but because it's a trick that's on board.
For sure.
But I mean, you feel like a champ when you do that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great line. That's great. I'd not heard about that one before. Good job.
So we finished total 4-2 in the limited portion, which is kind of a shame. I think the second deck was I think both could have been 3-0 decks. I think the second one definitely was pretty close to seat perfect. And it's a shame because if I ever 3-0 a professional REL draft, Duncan Tang said he would stop calling me bad at limited.
So now you've got that hanging over your head still.
So spoilers, that's still not happened. But
I mean, we all struggle to appease Duncan. He's a hungry master, and it's tough.
It's a tough one. But that's a good record, man. That's a fantastic record. And obviously, you prepped well on everything. And, you say maybe some of these decks should have been 3-0 decks and everything. But you described your second match against Brock Parker, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, maybe you could have made some things differently, kept different hands or whatever. But it still feels like, things maybe didn't pan out quite as well as they could have. And yeah, I mean, sometimes you lose matches as a result. But it sounds like, yeah, you drafted really well for your seat, and you obviously had good decks in both drafts. It's a good job.
It was good to sort of see some of the cards paying off. I think some people, like I said, had the mending of Dominaria is just this expensive soul salvage. It's I don't think you appreciate how good
this card is. Yeah,
this card is pretty insane. So.
It's definitely one of the cards that people were kind of not necessarily on the fence about, but had different.
There was definitely different levels of I know what the word I'm looking for is. evaluation.
Yeah,
there's definitely different levels of evaluation on that one. Because, like you say, like once you start to factor in the fact that there's a bunch of good mana sinks in this set, and like it ramping you, 4 lands or something is kind of insane. Once you start to factor that in, you're like, oh, maybe it's not just an expensive soul salvage. But if you're not thinking about that greater thing, you're just thinking like standard limited environment, then you're like, oh, I mean, it looks like an expensive get 2 creatures back, get some lands, I guess, thing.
The biggest bait was like having the third like Saga ability come off the stack with a Tatiova in play.
Oh, that's incredible.
One basic forest is absolutely gutted. Wanted more forests. Like
there you go.
There was, I didn't have Memorial to Unity, but whatever.
That's a good run though. So we should cover Constructed a little. You don't have to go crazy into your Chain Whirl and Mirrors or anything like that, but maybe talk about some of the opponents that you played against, generally how you felt about your deck selection, maybe, obviously there's a lot of red-black, as we were saying, but maybe some of those 70 to 75th card selections. I always find those really interesting, personally, and I know that a lot of people are kind of into that sort of slight tweaking of a very popular deck when everybody's on it.
Yeah, I mean, so to sort of preface, I played Green-Black Snake at GP Birmingham. I basically knew that I wanted to be not blue-white. I know that, like, not because the deck was bad or anything like that, but just because I don't think it was really my style.
Yeah, and you want to duress them, and that's kind of more your style, and yeah, there's a lot of good duress decks, so cool.
So didn't do particularly well at Birmingham. I thought I had a reasonable red-black matchup, as does everybody that seems to register Snake. But then couldn't ever beat it.
Only Jeff Cunningham has a reasonable red-black matchup. Nobody else does playing Snake.
Literally only Jeff Cunningham.
Yeah, that's it. Carry on.
So I've done very well previously with Unlicensed Disintegration and Scrap Heap Scrounger.
That's what you won the PTQ with, right, Mardu?
Yeah. Like, I would say 90% of the tournaments that I have won full stop have probably involved those 2 cards.
Nice.
Like, going back when you could play, Gideon and Smuggler's Copter, and
you're gonna get Nathaniel very, very excited if you continue down this road.
No, man, I mean, I like the Smuggler's Copter decks, but I was always into the Splash Blue decks.
Oh yeah, you and your Metallic Rebuke.
That was the nut high. Playing four colors in your aggro deck, man. That's real magic.
I mean, they went out of their way to nerf Unlicensed Disintegration, and it's still the best card.
Oh, it's so good. It's phenomenal.
So I'd like to say that I spent ages grinding and really like refining, but really what happened was Corey Baumeister 8-0'd with red-black aggro based on a list that he saw from Muldrifter.
Yeah, no, this is...
Sure, yeah, one of the standard like trophy grinders.
Yeah. He had a bunch of things that I liked, a couple of things that I didn't, based on my own experiences playing these sort of like aggressive, nearly mono red, splash a couple of powerful cards aggro decks in standard before. I knew I wanted to play Hazarets. I knew I wanted to play 4 Goblin Chain Whirl. I mean, that sounds...
all the great red, rares, and mythics.
The interesting one is like 3 Chandra, 3 Phoenix, 2 Hazaret split. And that was kind of my hedge, like, against blue, white, and green, black. I was boarding in Chandra like nearly 100% of the time. So why not just play the 7, like the 7 out of 10 in all of the matchups?
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I don't normally play lands in the sideboard, but I did put the 25th land in the board, and ended up boarding it in sometimes on the play, out on the draw, and sometimes just in whenever the curve needed it.
Yep.
And sort of the only other kind of interesting thing, or something that I thought was interesting, but apparently I didn't take far enough, I had a Siege Gang commander in my board, which
Yeah, that card was an absolute superstar over the Pro Tour weekend.
I kind of thought that was my, like, oh, look at how smart I am. I figured out this card was good. And then Marcio Carvalho had 2 in his board. And I was like, oh, well, okay, well. So
that's good tech, though, for sure. That card's fantastic when people are trying to kind of nickel and dime 1-for-1 each other, and you just put a whole bunch of stuff on board.
You're both just trying to trade off resources, and you go, okay, cool, well, here's 4 resources. And sometimes they're not 1/1s, they're shocks.
This was just after the 6, it was 6 and 2 in the Mox, the blue-black control deck. With, not the Esper version that we kind of see now that, like, Matignon did really well with, but, like, the traditional kind of Scarab God Gearhulk.
But a Fatal Push Contempt deck, essentially.
And I knew that Brad Barkley was, like, really, really into it. He thought it was really good, and I thought that if this is a man that knows his disallow laced control decks. So it's excellent there. It's absolutely, like, prime there, because they just, if they're going to 1-for-1 all of your things, that's fine. And it's an army in a can against blue-white. If they settle your Siege Gang commander, you're just up 4 lands.
Yep.
That means you have 4 less lands in your deck.
And sometimes you're just, like, shocking them as well if you got the spare mana kicking about, which, that's sometimes decent as well. The card's fantastic, absolutely. I mean, the points you raised around the blue-black deck, as I said, it's at its core a Fatal Push Rass's Contempt deck, and if you put all these things on the board, then they just simply can't keep up.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, Pia is a good card against them, right? Because it makes 2 things.
Pia's such a good card against so many decks.
But, like, Pia makes 2 things, and that is, like, the simple reason why she's good against blue-black, because you make 2 things, and blue-black goes, oh no, I must now spend 2 cards on these things, but you only spent 1 card on these things. Oh, this does not work. So if Siege Gang ever resolves and they're like, oh, I must spend 4 cards on these things.
Yep.
Oh no, so many cards.
It is a bit. It's not something you ever want to get Scarab Godded.
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
But you can do things with Scrap Heap Scrounger to, like, mitigate that.
Yeah.
Like, it puts an element of, remember that this is an interaction. I don't really care if he revives, like, a Soulscar Mage.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, it's obviously not great. Like, sure, you can have a 4/4 Rekindling Phoenix. Like, that's still annoying, but it's not as bad as it could be.
It's not a 4/4 with 3 1/1s attached to it that can also still shock, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, they can't really do that because they have to pay red mana, but yeah, whatever. It's still bad.
Still pretty bad.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I thought it was kind of pretty standard. I don't know if I did anything particularly fancy with my sideboarding. I don't know, specifically in, like, the red-black or, like, the mono-red matchups. But I think I only lost once in the mirror all weekend to some guy called Owen Turtonwall.
What a chump.
So
how could you lose to him?
Well, actually, I lost because I didn't hit land 4 in either of the games.
That's often how the mirror goes.
In a matchup that revolves around Rekindling Phoenix, Hatcher the Fervent, and Chandra.
Yeah.
But I played against him in round 5. And I sat down opposite him with Ari Lax and Paul Rizzo playing on my left. And all 4 of us were playing
Chainwalla.
I've made the correct choice.
Yeah.
We figured it out.
It's quite nice in round 5, just kind of having that, even, before the match starts, you're like, okay, there's a bit of some good confirmation there about, I've registered the right, at least a semblance of the right 75, certainly 70 out of those or whatever.
So I think they had Heart of Kieran, if I'm remembering correctly, which I'm a big fan of Heart of Kieran, but I don't think that was what I wanted on the weekend. Like I had 4 copies of a Braid, just ready to hang fire on that. So apart from that, my other loss on day 1 was to Thiago Saporito.
Also a very good Magic player.
So he was playing Green-Black Snake, and I think there was a point in game 3 where he has a Walking Ballista with 2 counters, Brontodon, and I end up doomfalling him to exile from hand.
Okay.
I take an even bigger Ballista because my plan is to set up cut your Walking Ballista, play Angrath, Angrath take Brontodon. Brontodon dies, and then he's effectively hellbent, and I have an Angrath and like a carry Zev or whatever.
This seems like a good sequence for us.
He draws, passes. I think I draw like a Rekindling Phoenix, which I decide to play because I can still do the exact same sequence I just described while also having a Rekindling Phoenix. He draws, plays Snake, which is not great because now Walking Ballista is like a bit more dangerous.
Can he pump as well?
He can, so that trades with the Phoenix.
Right.
It's 3 and then the egg.
But we can still like cut the snake, steal the Bronodon, so...
Yeah, well, so what happens is we go to do that, and the other card that we haven't seen
Boss
between...
Defense?
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, no.
They always play 1.
Gotcha.
So we end up kind of just getting...
Yeah, just tempoed into the ground. Brilliant.
Yeah, not ideal, but we're at that point we were 5-3. Playing day 2 of a Magic tournament. Like, what is that all about?
I forgot that you went in at 5-3. Yeah, I for some reason I thought you'd gone in at X2, but yeah, you had a brilliant day 2, right?
Yeah. So then come back, did the draft that we spoke about, and then kind of just
didn't lose a match.
Yeah. So what did we play in day 2? It was...
I can tell you, your first opponent is Noah Walker.
Yeah, so we'd actually met Noah the night before at the secret sandwich place that like everybody talks about because it was basically the best and only place to eat in the neighborhood right near the venue.
So not so secret, but excellent.
But I had been chatting with a friend of mine, Joe Demestrio, who used to play the WoW TCG.
Okay.
So I'd been chatting with him, and he introduced me with all his mates that were sitting next to him, and I'm pretty sure I recognized Noah like from something. Like I didn't know if he
probably playing Grixis Delver at an incredibly high level. If you
well,
pay attention to that.
I actually remembered later on that it was the week before, like the team.
Oh yeah.
The team thing. He was the guy that Ben Stark was playing when he splashed the Radiant Lightning and killed his entire team. But I didn't want to say that to him. Like I don't want to be like, "Oh, you're the Radiant Lightning guy."
Yeah, you're the guy who got dunked on. Yeah, I was watching.
So he was playing basically red. And I
red with scrappies.
Yeah,
that's what basically red sounds like.
And I won both on the draw, basically making me think that whatever I was doing for my sideboarding was like pretty much completely spot on, and that like having Hour of Glory and Doomfalls and all of this stuff was just the
right call.
Was like where we were supposed to be. I played against I played against one other red deck because one of the runs I played against someone I can't remember. Again, the rounds kind of get a bit mixed up, but he was playing So his first land that he played was Evolving Wilds.
Okay.
Now, sort of starting to rack my brain, I'm like, right, what land is this? He fetches a swamp, plays an island. So my turn 2 play was carry Zev. He plays his island. I go to attack. He goes, whoa, cast down? Call the judge. My opponent has tried to put cast down this carry Zev. He goes, yep. Do you have you get a warning for this? Don't do that again. Okay. My turn 3, so then I play a land, and then I go to play Pia. And then in my end step, he puts the cast down on the stack, and I sort of half raise my hand, and he goes, Thopter.
I think that, I don't know if that's just let him do it, right? Like, oh, that's horrible, but like...
I think if I had just sat, like, completely and, like, not done anything, I don't know, but I was just kind of like, he put it on the stack, and my hand was, like, already at, like, shoulder height.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I know what you want to do. Like,
that's, like, probably a lesson of just, like, let them be stupid, and then call, I don't know, but, like, oh, Jesus.
I mean, the next level play, I think, from him is just to double down and just be like, end step, cast down your carry, Zev. Just, like, no fear.
What is so
you thought
that's what you're trying to do.
So we won that game.
No surprises.
And then in game 2, I remember there was a situation. So he eventually shows me basic planes.
Okay.
And I've been completely stuck on black sources.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of exchanged a bunch of resources. He has one card in hand. He has 2 cards in hand and a Gear Hulk, because his last turn involved playing his 6 land Gear Hulking.
Mm-hmm.
Scry, draw.
Oof.
So I don't remember if it was like top bottom scry but he drew, obviously, so this is why he has 2 cards.
Okay.
And he has an Evolving Wilds. That must have been the card he played last.
Mm-hmm.
So I draw Aether Hub.
Wonderful.
So I've now got Aether Hub, Duress, Glorybringer, and he's on 8.
Okay. Do you have enough lands to Duress and Glorybringer? And how much
I
are you
do.
on? Okay, cool.
So I Duress him.
Mm-hmm.
And his hand is Settle the Wreckage and Teferi. With this Gear Hulk. Now, the question is, does he have another planes that he can get with this, like, Evolving Worlds?
Okay.
And do I have, like, enough time to, like, play around this? Can I, like, take the Teferi, get in for 4, hold back the Glory, okay, take the Teferi, whatever, play Glorybringer, get in. He, like, cracks, picks up his deck, goes through it, and I'm like, he's just gonna get basic planes, and then I'm like, I'm gonna be shut out, I don't have enough burn spells.
Yeah, this is terrible. How many planes has he got in play?
Just the 1.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh god, and he's like, go through it.
Yes!
Swamp. I'm like, oh my god, so good at this game, game.
That's brilliant.
And he, like, draws, and then just
dies. That's brilliant, Danny.
So I'm aware that I've been, like, talking for a reason.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. Honestly, like, these are the anecdotes. It's cool stuff.
So the second to last round. So it's basically a double PTQ final.
Mm-hmm.
So 11 and 5 gets you a requalification. So I've got Brad on the rail, and Riley is coming behind me to do a play-by-play. My opponent, I know, is an Italian gentleman, because I know some of the people that he was speaking with earlier on, and I know that they're all from the same sort of team, so I'm like, but I don't know what they're playing. That information doesn't help me, other than I know that he speaks Italian. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this information.
You make better friends with him, but you can't beat him at Magic more easily.
Well, I can beat him at Magic when he mulls to 5
in
game 1. It's really difficult to not externally fist bump, to fist bump when he's doing that, but you're definitely internally going, go for.
Yeah, because you've got a winning in for the next PT, and you're flying high in this PT already. It's, yeah, sure.
So he's doing green-black things.
Okay.
Like, just, like, fatal pushes and, like, blooming marshes and, like, walking ballistas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really think anything of it. I'm like, alright, Snake. But the turn before he dies, he plays, a Field of Ruin.
Is this one of those things where he probably shouldn't have done that and then just, like...
Yeah, I don't know what his, like, out was, or I don't know if he was, like, what his thought process was. But I saw, maybe he played, like, an Evolving World or something before, but when I'm sideboarding, I'm making, like, mental things, I'm going, what Snake lists play, like, Field of Ruin and Evolving Worlds? And I'm like, the answer is not Snake decks, but just, like, green-black decks that are splashing blue, most likely.
Yeah, like the
Scarab
Sultai
God.
mid-range style things, yeah. Especially with Evolving Worlds. Yeah, I feel that.
So, I don't sideboard, as standard Snake.
Yeah, you don't want your cuts and things. Or maybe you do want your cuts, actually. I don't know what else they're playing.
So, I actually can't remember exactly how I board, but I don't do it exactly like I have been doing. I keep in some slightly more questionable things if he is a bit slower. I still keep in, like, the Soulscar mages, which actually turn out to be horrendous against what he's doing, but it's just so good if he is Snake that it's completely worth doing.
I feel that, yeah.
And then, so he's on the play, he makes tap land. I make a Soulscar mage.
Okay.
He makes Argyle's Bloodfast.
Okay.
And again, it's really difficult to, like, not externally fist pump when someone basically taps out on turn 2 to not really do anything. And is effectively down a card, but like you said, it's a PTQ final.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, like, curve out and do a bunch of stuff. I think I go, like, Soulscar, carries Ev, Scrap Heap Scrounger, he plays a Josu Ves.
Oh.
And I was like...
It's just as the 4/5.
It's just a 4/5 that gets unlicensed disintegrate that, attack you for 8. Like, okay, thanks. He drew, like, 3 to 4 cards off of this, Argyle's Bloodfast.
He's just dead at this point. Like, it's like 11 plus 6 is horrible, yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, dear.
And then I found his list at some point. It was on one of the CFB articles, I don't remember. And one of the things I did was, like, I linked it to Brad, and I was like, can you not see about 3 other cards that you would rather have in your deck than this 2-mana enchantment that kills you? And he's like, well, I don't know if Sandworm Convergence is actually better, but I would feel slightly better about having it. And I was like, well...
I mean, it's... Obviously, there's, like, the blue-black mid-range decks at the moment that are going around with the main deck Bloodfasts and stuff like that, but there's also this green-black mid-range list that's been seeing a lot of play, which Collins Mullen and Brandon Candio are playing, and that doesn't play the Bloodfast in the main, but that's the 4 Khan... double Nissa, double Vraska deck, which sounds different to what this guy's got going on, because if you say he's like a Scarab Goddy kind of thing, then it's a worse mana and different plans, I suppose.
I mean, fair props to whatever he was trying to do. He obviously, like, had a plan for the matchup, and it obviously, like, turned out to not be Snake. So, I'm going to kind of, like, undersell it, because at that point I wasn't thinking... I've qualified for the next Pro Tour. I'm thinking...
I have a winning in for top 16.
I want this next round to start. I just want to win my next round.
Yep.
And I'm talking to, like, Brad about, what he's seen on the other tables, like, who's in my bracket. Reed was in my bracket. Brad Nelson was, like, in that area. Matignon was in that area. There's a bunch of other people who I can't remember now, but at the time, if you ask me, do you know what so-and-so is playing? Yes.
Yeah, because, maybe
almost,
at this point
exactly.
At this point in the tournament, it all gets a bit blurry as well, I imagine, but, like, in the moment when you're there and you're just waiting between rounds and looking at matches, it's all there and in front of you, and you've got it.
Well, this one was, like, kind of particularly frustrating, because this was the round that, is it Kevin Jones? Like, went to time.
Yep.
So the feature matches are already set, like, 10 minutes behind. So you're, like, we were sitting, and obviously I'm playing an aggro deck, and I don't know if you could tell that those games weren't particularly close. So I basically ended up sitting for like 45 to 50 minutes. And while that sounds not bad...
No, it's a long time, absolutely. Especially when you're in the zone, like, you just want to kind of get on with it and just keep riding that wave, and yeah.
So the last round, my opponent's playing Snake, and we steal a game 1, which involves the third Chandra, like that clutch third Chandra, like he like is it like a duress or like something? He like, I use a Vraska to kill a thing. I play a Vraska on an empty board, tick it up. He contempts it. A Chandra on an empty board, he Vraska contempts it, and then I play the fourth Chandra.
Oh god! And
then tick that up, and he kind of looks at me, and I'm like, well, I didn't put it in my deck to not draw it. Like
it's here, it's on 5 loyalty, what are you going to do about it?
Do you have another contempt? Like, that's not bad for you. So we won that one, and then that's kind of like when it kind of hits me. And I'm like, oh man, we're really, really close here. And then in game 2, again, I've got like Riley on my shoulder, like, not literally on my shoulder, obviously, but like doing the messages to the group.
Yeah, we're all paying attention, by the way. Like, I certainly was in the group chat, just like getting every single turn, every single card in your hand. It was great, like following all of this. Shout out to Riley for facilitating that.
And there's a point where he's quite low on life. I'll make like on 8 or something. Or like he's on like 12 or something like that. And I draw a Glorybringer, and he's basically hellbent. And
what's his board?
I'm
stuff.
At this point, I don't think like anything.
Oh.
So I'm feeling like an absolute champion.
Yeah.
So I like play the Glorybringer, attack for 4. He untaps, plays Gearhulk, puts counters on it.
What's your life total?
Maybe my order's slightly wrong. I end up on 12.
Okay.
I attack with the Glorybringer, I put him to 4, and he draws the other Gearhulk to put 4 counters on this thing and attack and kill me for exactly.
Yep. Okay.
So that was like a bit kind of candle snuff out. I was like, I thought I was like 90+% to win that. Alright, okay, I guess
it's
I'll
just
take
him getting you back for the 4th Chandra, right?
And then in game 3, there was a really... So he's got Karns in his deck. And there was a really interesting point where I have an hour of glory. Because against Snake, I was just boarding in like all of the removal in the world. There's a really interesting bit where I've got a Hazaret with 2 cards in hand, and they are both removal spells. And he has a Karn on less than 3 loyalty. I think it might be exactly 3 loyalty, because I think he played it, ticked down to make a 2/2 construct that can crew his in-play Aether Sphere Harvester.
Right.
And I have got a Chain Whirler, a Hazaret, and like enough lands to cast both of my spells, but not enough to like really do anything pre-combat. I can like use a removal spell on the construct, attack Karn with Hazaret, and then Karn dies. But then he's still got like this Aether here, Harvester.
Okay.
So logically, I could just ship in with this Chain Whirler. He animates, I kill it, then he's down a Harvester, and down
construct token.
And the Karn.
Oh right, sure.
Because he has to crew the so I do that, and he thinks for a bit. Goes to blocks and just chumps with the
construct.
Token.
Okay.
And I'm like, alright, okay, cool. Pass the turn. So he draws, plays his 5th land, minuses, makes a construct, crews the Harvester, and plays a Gearhulk.
Right.
Oh my god, this is a nightmare. How do I get through all this?
7 power. Is he putting them all on the Aether Sphere? Oh wait, you have a removal spell, right?
So I'm thinking he puts like 1 counter on the Harvester, 1 on the construct.
Okay.
to keep it safe, and then like 2 on the Gearhulk.
Yeah, that way he has 2 good blockers for Hazoret. His Harvester like is gaining him 4 every turn. Like, yeah, that little sequence makes a lot of sense from his side.
Yeah. So he loads up 4 counters on this Aetherfare Harvester. And I am, again, internally, like...
Oh, God.
Just...
We're doing it.
Absolutely, like, all over this.
Ecstatic. This is great.
So he, like, swings in. I'm like, kill that thing. Kill your Gearhulk. 12 you. Put you to 2 with a Hazoret in board. Like...
Oh, man. Opponent had all of the cards there.
It's kind of mad, because, like, the chump line is clearly, like, acknowledging that Dani has a removal spell in hand. Or that he's giving Dani, like, the credit for the removal spell. Yeah. And
then Dani passes all the mana.
Yeah, and Dani passes all the mana up, and he's like, yeah, I don't think he has the removal spell now. Let's not play around the removal spell.
I mean, maybe you're crediting them too much for that chump.
The chump doesn't make any sense, though.
I mean, right? I agree with you, but I don't know. That's mental. But I mean, yeah, solid, great. And so we go on to finish X4.
Yeah, which is unbelievable. Still kind of unbelievable.
So 8-2 in constructed.
Yep.
That's a brilliant record,
and
man.
you only lost to some no-name scrubs who no one will ever hear from again. So that's fine.
Like it was, Brad pointed out, it's like, well, who did you lose to across the weekend? Owen Turtenwald, Toffel, Tiago Saporito, and Brock Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I think if those are the people I'd lost to at a Proto weekend, I might be feeling okay. Maybe less so if I was 0-4, but still be feeling okay, I think, if those are my losses.
Yeah, no, it's tremendous. Really, really good job, man. Honestly, we're all like, obviously, we're screaming at home and stuff, getting the play-by-play from Riley. We so badly wanted a feature match towards the closing bits of the tournament, and it was a shame we didn't get it. But yep, as I said, Riley that came through with the play-by-play, and it was really, really cool following the tournament just from home. Yeah, really good stuff.
It was fantastic to be on the other end of. I mean, obviously, money and success, but like, I got so many messages and like so many tweets and all that kind of stuff, and it was kind of a bit mental.
Yeah, That's a hell of a trip, man. And I mean, this is why there's moments like that. That's why you play the game, man. It's like, obviously you play the game for the journey and everything, but it would be a discredit to not actually take in those moments and really think like, hey, this is great, and it's fantastic, man. But yeah, so that was a great PT. Now maybe let's talk some history here. This is our first Scottish top 16, correct?
That I'm aware of.
Yeah,
I'm pretty certain.
That's what we established at the time. I wasn't sure if that had been debunked since, but I was pretty convinced that was still correct, obviously. Yeah, no, it was fantastic. So what's next for you? Oh, you had GP Vegas just now. Let's not go crazy into detail, but give us like a high level thing about the tournament.
Yeah, how did the Vegas weekend go? I heard that the first tournament was really fun and everyone had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely no issues there whatsoever at all. So obviously, I can't tell you all the stories of Vegas because,
Yep.
Sure.
What happens in Vegas? Carry on.
Well, it's a family-friendly podcast. So I was originally signed up to play the modern one. I turned up for like the end of round 1. End of round 1, like beginning of round 2. Get a cup of coffee or whatever, and after like nearly 2 hours at the venue, having not played any Magic at all,
Jeez.
And being in Vegas, thinking, hey, I could be doing literally anything else with my time.
Mm-hmm.
I got moved to the limited GP instead, because now all of a sudden, like, pro points really matter to me, whereas before I was kind of somewhat indifferent.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick just while you're there. You've pretty much cemented your spot as a Scottish captain, I believe.
I think Duncan has to pull something crazy out to take over in the race again.
And following that, because you're queued for the next PT, Does that mean that you're a lock for silver? How does that work?
That is a fantastic question.
Okay.
If anybody actually knows how the silver thing, please get in touch, because I have read about 4 different things and have had 4 different stances on it at any single point in time.
That's horrible. This should be clearer. What's wrong with the system?
I believe that... so, I am currently near the end of a PhD.
Right.
I believe that my schedule might not allow me to go to Pro Tour 25. Especially when it's like a team event, and I don't want to be a dead weight for 2 people that obviously want to do very well. So
it's Pro Tour 25. No, I know. I get it. PhD man. Real life. Respect. Carry on.
And I mean, unfortunately, Pro Tour Atlanta's got some pretty cool people qualified for that. I've never gone to a Pro Tour with Gary Campbell, but we'll see what that one looks like.
Scotland. Carry on.
I've put in a request to defer my invite to that, because I believe my points from Rivals plus this Pro Tour won't leave the system until the first Pro Tour of 2019. So I think turning up at, if not PT 25, but PT Atlanta.
Which would be Ravnica.
Spaghetti, Ravnica, yeah.
Okay. Yep.
That will qualify silver, which will then be an invite for the first one of 2019, which is like return to Ravnica or whatever.
Nice. And we'll have a Scottish Silver Pro, and that will be great. But you should really find out what the hell's going on.
It's honestly, I'm not joking. If anybody thinks they know how this works,
please get in touch with the podcast or Daddy. Somebody say something, please.
Please. But yeah, so I'm like decided I'm going to take time out of my Vegas week to play some Magic and try and get, because if I can get 2 pro points from like this weekend, then none of that really matters. And I
don't need to worry about any of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Does it cross over? Does it not? I don't care. I am locked now.
Yes. Peace of mind.
So I end up playing Limited. I go 7-2 on day 1. Again, deck photo is on Twitter. Deck felt very, very medium, and I got very, very lucky. Pool highlights include the full 4 copies of Divest and 3 copies of Tragic Poet. The best card in my deck on paper by a million miles was Helm of the Hosts.
Oh, that card's good.
All of the rounds I played, I cast it once, and it made the Sapperling.
Nice.
I got the
carried,
elusive,
mate. Absolutely carried by your bombs.
Well, I got the elusive round 4 buy, where I got paired against Matthew Nass.
Okay. Yep.
In the sealed GP, while he was simultaneously on camera in the modern GP.
Nice.
So I called the judge over, said, my opponent is not here. He will not be here. She said, how do you know that he's not going to turn up? Well, he's on camera now, has been on camera for the last 20 minutes, probably doesn't have a registered pool. She went, oh, I'll go and look into that. And then eventually...
Check that one out, yeah.
This is brilliant.
So all of a sudden I was like 4-0.
Nice.
Coming off of 2 buys. So I sent a tweet to Matt Nass saying, thank you for being amazing at Modern and also not dropping. And he said, what are you talking about? I did drop. I was like, well, apparently not.
I got petted, so you did.
So, scoreboard, buddy. 1-0. GP champion? What?
So your lifetime record against Matt Nass is now 1-0.
Yep.
Sick. That's so good.
Oh, you must have stolen so much elo from him.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually not been updated.
No, I was looking for that as well. Vegas isn't on there yet, right?
No, I think actually because whoever is doing it is having to sort out all of these, because there's apparently been a bunch of weird pairing things.
Oh yeah, because obviously the stuff. Well, to be clear, the reason there was that huge delay in the modern GP was the pairing software blew up essentially. But why does that impact the limited GP then?
If people have maybe supposed to have been dropped.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
I honestly don't know, but I remember seeing something about somebody was paired in round 1 despite having 2 buys. So then was paired in round 3 with the record reflecting their buys, but also paired again with the record reflecting their...
This is
it was
horrible.
a bit of a nightmare.
I thought there was only the modern that got impacted this badly. I didn't know that the limited was also a bit of a nightmare. Oh well. So how did we do in the drafts in day 2?
Unfortunately, we 1-2'd both of those drafts with decks that on paper looked to be well above that. But I mean, it's fine. Definitely not the worst Sunday I've ever had, but it's probably up there.
What's next for you?
So, in terms of Magic, I am unable to now play the team RPTQ, regardless of whether I can make it or not. So, I'm looking at maybe doing a couple of GPs if depending on the price. Like, I might do Barcelona. I might do.
Come to Brussels.
When's Brussels?
July, I think. I'm not sure when. Early July. Nathaniel.
Let me look.
Okay.
Buddy, if you think I know when things are, then you're in for like a terrible awakening.
We're literally both the worst at this, though, so...
Yeah, that's why we work so well together.
Obviously.
It is early August.
Oh, good job,
I guess
Dan.
mid-August. It is 10th to the 12th of August 2018. The format is standard, and the venue is the Brussels Expo.
There you go. And the playmat is we don't know yet, and we don't really care.
Playmats don't matter anymore, man. They stopped giving them to us.
Yeah, that's true.
That was actually, I think that would be quite a nice circular one to go to. I think Brussels was my first GP.
Oh, nice.
Which was BFC standard in like 2015.
Oh, wonderful. We'll definitely come to Brussels, man. We've got, there's a fair few of us going, and I imagine a bunch of other folks in Scotland as well. But that should be a good time. Brussels is a good city. So yeah, looking forward to that. We lowly plebs do have to play the RPTQ this weekend. We kind of went into it last week. So we're not gonna go into crazy detail here, but I think
what we went into mostly last week was like what lineups you could have and what sort of lineups we were maybe interested in.
So I think we're kind of finalized, and we're looking at blue-black control, mono-red, and green-white, which I'm feeling pretty good about, I think. I do think that, I keep saying this week, but I do think that maybe, the lineup is sort of blue-black mid-range, blue-white, and red, but based on kind of prep time, experience with decks, and everything like that, we're going with what we've got, and we're pretty confident about it. You're trying out the Aaron Barrett mono-red list, right, Nathaniel?
Yeah, so from what I can tell, there's like 3 different like versions of mono-red that are going around, which are kind of like the Wyatt Darby's version that obviously won the PT, Scott Lipp's version that is a bit heavier on 4s, and doesn't play shocks, and you're kind of a bit more like red mid-range almost. And then Aaron Barrich's version, which is the opposite of that, where you're just playing Hazarets, you're not mucking around with any other 4s. You're playing less lands than everybody else, and you're playing Gitu Lava Runners and Wizard's Lightnings.
Wizard's Lightning.
Were cards that I was kind of skeptical of looking at, because I just don't like Open Fire. I just don't think it's a very good card.
Lightning Bolt's a good card, though.
I mean, you don't have to talk to me about that one. But having played having played a reasonable amount of it now, I think that the ability to double spell like a turn earlier in the mirror is like hugely impactful. And I think basically I'm happy taking the stance of let's just make the red deck very extreme.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Because I think that this version is better against control. It's a total nightmare for control when you start double spelling them on turn 2. And
has a hard time against green, but I think
I think it's better against control. I think it's better in the mirror, and I think that if that's going to be 66% of the room.
Yeah, I think it's a really good call,
because each team's going to have a control deck and each team's going to have a red deck. So if I can be good against 2/3 of my opponents, yeah, I'll take that.
So that's looking good. I know. I love how you said there's like 3 versions of Mono Red floating around, but there's still like technically, what I believe to be a kind of subpar version with the Flame of Keld, and then we still haven't really covered the one that still splashes Scroungers because people are still playing that too. So there's just...
Turns out, guys, Red's really deep.
Red's
and when
so
the color's
good.
really deep, you can play a lot of different versions of that deck.
For sure. So yeah, now that's looking cool, so I'm excited for that. This weekend. Anything else that we want to discuss?
I don't think so. I mean, there's been a bunch of spoilers from M19. Like, we talked about some spoilers last week, but like... Okay, there is one interesting spoiler, which, like, I feel like has been talked about a little bit, but... So they spoiled an artifact called Amulet of Safekeeping.
Right, yep.
It's a 2-mana artifact, which reads like a goddamn custom card.
Yeah, it's really weird. Walk us through
Danny,
it.
have you seen this card?
Is this the additional nerf that token decks were really needing?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it goes along with like that black horse, so that we can really beat up on the token decks in Standard that have been just dominating the metagame for the past few rotations. But I mean, so originally I looked at it and was like, I do not understand what this card is meant to do. It really is 2 mana. Whenever you become the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 1. Creature tokens get -1/-0. And these two things, like, they look just like completely like stapled together for no reason. It made no sense to me what this was fighting. And then someone pointed out, oh, it's really good against Storm. And I'm like, oh, they made a Storm hate card that may as well just say, like, if an opponent casts a spell with the Storm triggered ability while Amulet of Safekeeping is in play, that player loses the game. It's about that level of subtlety.
Yep. No, that's it.
And like, not to mention the fact that this card is terrible against Storm, because you play it and then they go off, and then at some point while they're going off, they find their bounce spell, and they bounce it, and then they kill you.
It's pretty heinous.
So the only reason I think this card is interesting because it's actually kind of following a trend from the past few sets of Wizards printing incredibly narrow modern targeted hate cards. With Damping Sphere being the kind of like more recent thing where it was clearly like, this hits Storm and Tron.
It sort of feels like they're experimenting a little bit with these cards from a design perspective.
It feels like a direction that they're going in where they're saying, oh, we're going to print like sideboard cards for Modern that are specifically powerful against some modern strategies. But the way they're going about it is like with the subtlety of a sledgehammer.
Right.
They printed Alpine Moon, which is like a Pithing Needle Blood Moon. But they're printing terrible cards that are like traps.
So Alpine Moon, for anyone who doesn't know, enchantment, single red. As Alpine Moon enters the battlefield, choose a non-basic land card name. Lands your opponent's control with a chosen name lose all land types and abilities, and they gain tap, add 1 mana of any colour.
I'm so glad my opponent can cast his Disenchant now.
But like the weirdest thing about it is that... No, not the weirdest thing, but as I'm saying, like, I just feel like they're kind of experimenting, and they're kind of trying to kind of probe there a little bit and understand, like, what is too good... Well, no, what is good, but without being too good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I get that.
And obviously the subtlety element is, like, totally out the window. You're absolutely right. But, I mean, that feels like that's what the direction is here. I feel like we're agreed that they're going about it kind of the wrong way, but I feel like they're kind of just probing little by little.
It's a promising direction for them to take their design, I think. And it definitely feels like they are effectively acknowledging that Modern is an incredibly popular format, and that they probably shouldn't be designing for it by not designing for it.
Right. And
just kind of seeing what happens.
Yeah, they need to take it into account when they're printing new cards, because, you know, there's been instances in the past where they haven't, and things got a bit weird.
Yeah. But what these sorts of printings make it seem like is... So, like, what you'll see in the wake of a Pro Tour like the one we just had, where, you know, 7 out of the top 8 decks had 4 copies of Goblin Chainwhirler, is a bunch of people going on like the Magic forums and saying, guys, I've got it. Why don't they print this card? And they'll show you like a custom card, which is like an artifact that like you can sacrifice it and prevent 1 damage to all creature tokens you control. And you're like, you don't understand how Magic the Gathering works. That is not a good card. Like, this wouldn't help any of the decks that Chain Whirler is good against, and you fundamentally misunderstand why Chain Whirler is good. And this kind of feels like it's designed by those people, where it's like, oh, Storm is good. Here's this card. It's good against Storm. And you say, but actually, this isn't really how you're meant to fight Storm. And this isn't, like, these are the most, like, the first thing that comes to mind, like the most bald-faced hate cards, where you're like, okay, I guess we'll print this. It is like, I saw someone tweet about it, there was the equivalent of, if an opponent would draw 3 cards and then put 2 cards from their hand on top of their library, instead, that opponent loses the game.
So there's another theory that's going around, which is that, they're trying to perhaps craft a new format, whereby, people always bandy around the idea of cutting out 8th and 9th edition and what that would do. And, you're kind of looking for your quote-unquote Blood Moon replacements, which obviously they're not Blood Moon replacements, but you've got these other cards that you can use to fight certain strategies and whatever, and those are still in your toolbox, if you will. I'm not necessarily saying that's what they're going to do, or that that's what I believe, but it's, perhaps a theory. I'm not, I'm really
it's
sure.
an interesting concept that, they print, like, Damping Sphere, and they print Field of Ruin, and they print Alpine Moon, and then they go, okay, guys, we're going to take 8th and 9th edition out of Modern. But don't worry. Tron would leave Modern then, right?
Yeah, Valakut wouldn't. Tron would.
Oh, okay. So I guess you can still play your Pithing Moon for Valakut.
Yeah, but I don't know. And whatever else comes, I don't know. It's really weird. I really don't know what to make of it. And, you can come up with a bunch of theories, essentially. But let's tell you what we should do is maybe next week dive deep on the spoilers, because we'll have a whole bunch more data. And there's a few good cards.
I think that next week almost all the spoilers will be out, and I'll maybe have more things to say than just like, look at all these gold cards. They're going right in my cube.
Yeah.
You see that black-white one that when you gained life it made a token? Guess what the archetypes are in my cube, Dan?
Token.
Black-white is tokens and life gain, Dan.
Yeah.
Man, I'm a genius.
Yeah, I need to play your
boys.
gold cube more.
Boys.
Yeah.
Banefire.
Banefire.
Oh yeah, that card did get reprinted.
Yep.
Red needed a little more help. And Watsy decided to give us an uncounterable burn spell, so the people will finally stop playing Control.
Just embrace Chain Whirler.
I think that a deep dive on the spoilers next week makes sense, especially because I think that we won't have any big tournaments coming up. Then again, there's always big tournaments coming up.
Nats next, right?
Oh yeah, there's Nats.
Yep.
But that fits in well, because Nats will actually be this standard and this limited environment.
So we can definitely jump in on that. But yeah, so I think this is probably a good time to wrap up.
This seems like a good ending point.
Yeah.
We've definitely talked for a little while, but that's good.
It's a nice long episode, but it was really good. So before we sign off, I just want to say, Dani, thank you so much for joining us this week. Really, really appreciate it. It was great hearing your perspective on the tournament and everything. As I said earlier, we were all just very, very happy and excited Scottish Magic community at home watching you tear it up on the big stage. And I really, really just appreciate your time for you coming on and talking to us about it.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure to do. Thank you so much.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No worries, man.
If you ever want somebody to come on and just rant about Magic for an hour and a half,
you're the man.
Can come and sow some salt, but don't worry about that.
We can maybe make that a segment. I don't know. We'll think about it. Speak to Jaren. Get the producer's take. Nathaniel, you got anything else before we sign off?
No, I normally have some nonsense to say.
You're all out of nonsense.
I'm too salty about getting turn 2 channeled in the O2 bracket to have any nonsense. So
you should probably just re-queue at the end of this episode and just do that to some
if you think I'm doing anything else, then you really just don't understand me and my Magic playing habits.
No, okay, well, good luck vintage cubing. Guys, thank you very much for listening. If you liked this episode or any of our content, I was actually amazed earlier when Dani said that he'd listened to episode 11 and everything. I was like, yes, people are listening. But Jaren is working on getting the RSS feed set up, and I think that we're real close now, which is exciting because once we've got that, then we'll be on all the good podcast platforms, and feel like a real podcast, which would be great. But if you did like this episode or our content or anything, then please make sure that you like and share the video, because it's on YouTube. So yeah, like and share it. If you didn't like it, let us know. Give us feedback. We're super, super open to it. And yeah, once again, thanks for listening. And in the meantime, until we get the RSS feed and all that good stuff set up, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes or any of the other content that the guys are working on. We've got a fair few bits and bobs in the pipe, kind of, deck techs and various videos. Maybe Nathaniel will do a Vintage Cube episode. We'll see. Trying to coax him into that. Steph will be happy if you do.
See. That's true. Okay, maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah, Steph's great. Make her happy.
Okay.
So you can also follow us on Twitter. So I'm at Danzeru, DANZERU, and Nathaniel is at F_Ironside, and Dani is at D Anderson 92. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So DANDERSON 92. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. Also, Danderson on Modo.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So
there you go.
I think you officially are the highest performing Scot to not have an illegible Twitter handle when he performed well.
This is in reference to Gary's Twitter handle, which was an absolute train crash before he got it corrected after the good folks on Leaving a Legacy helped him out with that.
If anybody can pronounce Duncan's, I will give you a coffee.
That's also true. Yeah.
Anyway, you can check out Murphy's Vault at murphysvault.com, or also on Facebook, Twitter, WordPress, which is where the articles live. If you go to murphysvault.com, there's a nice big banner which takes you to where the articles live. There's some good stuff going on there. We've got all kinds of content from your kind of maybe more competitively angled stuff, like what we tend to talk about most of the time. And then also a lot of content for your EDH, Commander, and cubes, and all kinds of stuff. So check it out. And all the links are going to be in the description. Once again, guys, thank you so much for listening. We've been From the Vault, and you've been fantastic.